Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Hally Ammons, Assistant Director for Government and Community Relations at Villanova University. Throughout the year, we hope to bring you the stories of the people in our shared community, making a difference both on and off campus. I'm so excited to welcome our guests today, members of Nova Racing, Villanova's Formula SAE team, and we will get into what that means in just a moment. First, thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Excellent, excellent. So we'll get started with a few introductions. My guests today are Luke Truscott, Joseph Kobe,
Yes,
and Matt Silvey. Luke, I'm going to go ahead and start with you and pretty much go down the line. You are the chief engineer for Villanova's Formula SAE and Nova Racing. Did I get that correct?
I was the chief engineer of our previous car, VU15. I'm the current captain of the racing team right now.
Excellent, excellent. So that's awesome. So we're talking to the leadership team here today, correct?
Yes.
That's great. And we were talking a little bit before we got started. What year are you at Villanova?
I'm a senior.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And are you in the College of Engineering?
I am. So I'm a mechanical engineering major with a aerospace minor at the College of Engineering.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Thank you.
Probably a subject that I know nothing about, but I'm happy that we have students that do. I'm going to go ahead and move down the line to your colleague, Joseph Kobe. Welcome. And Joseph, you are the chief engineer, is that correct?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. And what year are you at Villanova?
I am also a senior.
Excellent, congratulations.
Thank you.
And also a student in the College of Engineering, I assume?
Mechanical engineering with an aerospace minor.
See a pattern forming here. Well, that is really exciting. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
We're taping today and our spring semester is almost halfway over. So I think someone said 50 days left.
Yep.
So you guys are coming down to the wire. So I'm really so happy to have you all in here. And then finally, Matt Silvey, I have you as the project manager for Nova Racing. Is that correct for this year?
That's correct.
Excellent. And senior as well?
Yes.
Congratulations. And College of Engineering student?
Yes, 3 for 3.
Look at that.
So mechanical engineering with a minor in aerospace engineering, and I'm also doing a concentration in solid mechanics.
Wow, that's also very impressive. I think it's such a, you're such a great representation of the Villanova engineering community, and you all got to benefit from the brand new building before you graduated.
Thankfully, we did.
For our neighbors who may not know, Villanova recently constructed a new building for SEER. Is it the College of Engineering, Education and Research? Is that correct?
That is correct. Now they don't go by that.
They don't go by that.
No, they changed it up now.
Oh my!
Now it's just draws the call.
It's now draws the call.
Draws the call. That's correct.
Yep.
So it's a beautiful new building. I'm in there all the time. I work in Tolentine, so I take advantage of your facilities and your coffee shop. So great. So welcome again. So happy to have you here. I wanted to go into a little bit about what Formula SAE is and what Nova Racing is, because this was new to me. I am a Villanova staff member and a current graduate student, but at my alma mater, we were less an engineering school and more of a political science school. So we didn't have anything that was quite this impressive. So I'll start with you, Luke, but feel free to jump in. What is Formula SAE and what is Nova Racing?
So Formula SAE at its base is a nationwide organization. The Formula Student event in front of the name is an international student event. Formula SAE is the Society of Automotive Engineers, and the formula in front of it is the type of racing that it is. So it's a competition structure we compete in along with hundreds of other colleges across the country. There's electrical competitions for Formula, internal combustion competitions for Formula, and also hybrid under the Formula realm. There's growing ones for autonomous ones, but that's more seen internationally. And in international spectrum, the Formula Student is throughout the world in almost every country. What it is at its core is to design, build, test, and compete a Formula-style race car every year. The cars themselves are primarily Formula style, as I said, which is like an F1 car you see. Just miniature, not quite as cool as those as far as the power output, but they're still really awesome cars. The design is up to each team. There is constraints and more rules than we feel like dealing with, but they're all there. But if you can put a car together that matches the rules, there's no one car you have to create. So that's what's really cool and really brings the competition. Also, anytime there's school spirit involved, it gets a little heightened in the emotions you get behind it.
I'm sure this is no small feat. You're spending a lot of time and energy, and you're putting a lot into it. So that's fascinating. So, thinking of like a Formula F1 car, you're racing on a race track like you would see
Correct.
in an F1 type race. That's fascinating. When I want to get to competition a little bit later in my questions, but I want to learn a little bit more about Nova Racing before we get there. Joseph, I'll ask you. Do you know? Tell me a little bit about when Nova Racing was established, or how long that Villanova has had the team for. And I put you on the spot, but feel free to help him out. This isn't a quiz.
Yeah, no. Nova Racing was started in 2008 with a capstone project, so senior design project. I believe it was a 2-year project at the time. So a group of 5 students throughout 2 years put together the first car. This year, 2025, we're in VU 16, so the 16th iteration of that car. Every year we tweak based on testing performance that we see. So we have a full design cycle where we have conceptual, iterative, and then a final design review with our peers, and also we bring in some faculty members or alumni from the team to sort of critique our designs and see where we went right, where we went wrong. And then we build the car in the following fall semester, assemble and test in the next spring. So this VU16 will be competing in 2025 in Michigan in a couple of months.
Oh wow! So it's a pretty long process here from
Yes.
start to finish. This is I'm learning quite a lot. So Nova Racing has been around for 16 years. I remember when we were talking sort of initially before we got here, you're explaining to me how large the team is. Matt, do you want to talk a little bit about what's the size of the team and who makes up the team?
The team is currently composed of a total of 104 students, including ourselves. When we were freshmen, when we first joined the team, we joined a team of roughly 30 students, and now it's grown to be over 100. But those 104 students come from all over Villanova University, so from all colleges except for the College of Nursing. All colleges are absolutely welcome, but those are the more interested parties come from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, College of Engineering, College of Business. And so the team is split up into essentially 2 sides. There's an engineering side and a business side. The engineering side handles the design and the manufacturing of the car, and we pull from all disciplines of engineering, mechanical, electrical, computer, chemical, civil. And then the business side of the team handles a lot of our marketing, media. They produce merchandise for the team every year. They handle our social media accounts, and they connect us with opportunities like this one. And the business side of the team also pulls from different parts of the university, not just the business school, but also the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. But that being said, we do have people who mix and match. So on the College of Engineering side, or on the engineering side of the team, we actually have students who are very well involved or even becoming leaders of the team who are not engineering students. So some of the upcoming leadership are students from the College of Business, for example. And on the flip side, our current business lead, his name is Christian. He is actually a mechanical engineering student, but people join the team and get involved in the places where they're most interested in. And so that's the beautiful part of the team, is that although we have 100 people, we have a pretty diverse set of opinions and set of backgrounds.
That's pretty amazing, because I think upon first glance, certainly me as someone as an outsider, you might think, oh well, this is just strictly for engineering. This is a very sort of closed loop. But it sounds to me like there's a role for everybody who is willing to be a part of it. So that's pretty exciting, and I'm sure you you have so many different points of view, and I imagine that informs a lot of what you do. So that's amazing. That is really impressive. So to follow up on that, and I think we've probably established this. Nova Racing is entirely student-led, with some support from faculty or staff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's great. And I feel like there's so many analogs to this on Villanova's campus, which is also super impressive. I think just the leadership culture of Villanova is kind of everywhere, but this is a really great example of it. So my next question was, are members required to be students in the College of Engineering? But you answered that, and the answer is no. And maybe you should have some nurses in case I don't know.
It would probably be a good thing. Yeah, it would be a good thing.
So, I want to go into a little bit more detail, and Matt, we could stay with you, or we could, jump back around. How does the team, so this is a large team split into two components, sort of business, engineering. How does the team work with either the business community or the engineering community? Both? Does the team have contacts with alumni in the field? How does that look for the team? Does that make sense?
We do maintain a good deal of communication with our alumni from the team. So alumni from the engineering side have gone on to work at companies like Lockheed Martin and SpaceX and all different types of either automotive or aerospace or biomedical engineering companies. And then on the business side, we've also had alumni go into the finance world or the accounting world. So we try and keep our alumni relations pretty strong. But the other part of the community outreach that we feel is super beneficial to us is we actually communicate with other teams that we compete against year to year. So we'll communicate year to year with other teams if we have questions about our designs or if we want to bounce ideas back and forth off of each other. Each year, the rule book changes slightly, so we can bounce rules questions off of each other and see how the different teams are approaching a certain challenge. So community outreach definitely is, I would say it's diverse, but we try and maintain our relationships in different ways. With alumni, we try and invite them back, involve them in our designs. With other teams, we try and engage with them more competitively, and we also try and make it fun.
That's incredible. It sounds like there's a real community here. Did anyone have any other things to add to that before we move on? Just wanted to make sure that we get all thoughts.
I mean, as far as how we keep ourselves together and how we have business communicate with the engineering side team, because everyone gets a role, but then roles get muddied real quick. And there's just because of all the sheer amount of stuff to do. I would say it runs much closer to any business than a club does. The whole team itself, we have meetings all week, every day of the work week, and then we're usually working all weekend together. But we have full team meetings where everyone's there to kind of keep people updated all at once and ask questions to anyone they need. We have system meetings. The team really gets broken down to individual systems on top of the business and engineering. There's systems within each one and system leads that help keep everything together and talking. As far as the three of us, these two technically are the primary administrators of the engineering side of the team, so the designing, the building, manufacturing, and then my role is just keeping things in line to the university, the business side of school, and also overseeing the team just from a different perspective. But that's kind of how we structure and we communicate outside to all of our external resources and external to even the school level, because we've learned that the College of Business is a completely separate entity to the College of Engineering.
Sure. And
to mediate between the two, you can't talk to one and expect the other to pick up on it.
Right, exactly. That's, Villanova is sort of a world unto itself and sort of a microcosm of the bigger world outside, which makes it great. It's like a laboratory for, real life, and not that you're not living real life, but to be colloquial about it. So that's great. That's a really impressive operation and pretty complex. I wanted to get into the car itself a little bit. I've seen it, and I know that we will have images and video to go along with our chat today, so our folks watching will get a chance to see it. They're super cool. They're really neat, the versions that I have seen over the years. What kind of fuel does the car run on?
Ooh, so
we use 100 octane gasoline. Our engine's naturally aspirated. It's a motorcycle engine, 600cc Yamaha R6. So it's pretty much a sports bike engine.
Okay.
This year we're upsizing to a 636cc. So we just bored out the cylinders, putting a bigger parts inside the engine. So we're trying to get more displacement and more power out of it while maintaining the same weight. 100 octane fuel.
So are there limits for SAE? Like, for example, you're not going to put like a jet engine on your car and strap yourself to it. Like, are there CC limits, or how does that work with the competition structure?
Yes, so we're limited to below 710 cc. So anything up until that, 1 to 4 cylinders is fair game. Teams will run 1-cylinder engines, which are really light, but they don't get as much power out of them. Teams will run 3-cyl, 2-cyl. All the way up to what we run as a 4-cyl. So.
Interesting. That's so interesting. So how fast does the car go?
Top speed, we can get probably up to 80 miles an hour.
That's pretty fast.
We've never gotten that fast before. We take out 5th and 6th gear so that we save a little bit of our weight. So we can't get too fast. The competition really limits us in terms of what they want us to drive at. You wouldn't want a bunch of students driving their self-built vehicles over 100 miles an hour. So it's a lot of turns more so than straights to test actual lateral performance rather than just who can build the biggest engine.
Right. I'm a parent, so I'm thinking of my boys being in like a super go-kart and just flying down the track. But that's interesting that there's these technical sort of restraints and ways to keep it in line. Who drives? How do you select drivers? How does that work? Have you all driven? Have you all driven in a race?
We've all driven the car, but you got 2 of the actual drivers here.
Oh, okay, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, like so last year we went through and you do driver callbacks or driver training, driver callbacks go through, and the best of each in each event goes back through and keeps going through. I'll let them talk about that because they're running it this year. But last year during my picks, these 2 both drove in competition throughout all of our competitions we went to all through the fall and spring semester. So it makes it that much cooler that we get to sit here and we had those moments to share too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Matt, tell us about your experience driving. How do you do it? What is that like? What is the strategy? I mean, you both sort of jump in and we just have this. I've never sat in a race car, self-built or otherwise. So
Absolutely. So at our competition, there are 4 main events. There are different types of what they call dynamic events. The first 2 are called acceleration and skid pad. Acceleration is essentially a drag race against the clock. It's a 75-meter strip. It's just a straight, how fast can you cover 75 meters in a straight line. Skid pad is a figure-8 style course where it tests the ability of the car to stay in what's called a steady state turn. And then the other 2 events of the 4 are called autocross and endurance. Autocross and endurance are worth more points than acceleration and skid pad are, and all 4 events total up to a certain amount of points, and those points contribute to your overall score and thus your overall placement at the competition that we competed every year. When I was a sophomore, so 2 years ago now, I first drove at competition. I drove the acceleration event. Joe drove in the skid pad event. And then last year, both Joe and myself drove in the autocross and endurance events. So driving, there's definitely a lot of strategy at our competition. What time of the day do you get on track? There's only a certain number of cars on track at a time, and it's not head-to-head racing, it's time trial racing. So we can go at any time of the day, and so there's strategy about when you get on track, what the weather is like, how your car is performing that day, who your drivers are. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. But like Luke was saying, every year we have to pick drivers, and we pick drivers based on their skill in each of those 4 events. So some people are better at the acceleration event or the skid pad event than they are at autocross and endurance, and vice versa.
That makes sense, just like any other team sport, really. Now, in conventional auto racing, there's pit crews and things like that. Does that exist for Nova Racing as well when you're doing your events?
So there is a sort of driver swap during the endurance event. The endurance event is a 22-kilometer race, essentially. So it's 10 laps total around a track that they set up at Michigan International Speedway. And after the first driver drives his 5 laps, you got to switch your belt, get out. The other driver gets in, and the car has to restart and then keep going. So that's the main event. It's worth 275 points. Which is out of 1,000. So you really want to do well in the endurance event. Matt and I actually got 8th overall in the endurance event last year. So it was a good finish for our team. There's no tire swapping or something like that or refueling. So you have to make sure that you can get all 22 kilometers on the 1 pair of tires and 1 tank of gas. So there's a lot of strategy in that too, and plays into your design as well.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I feel like it probably runs pretty efficiently. 22 kilometers seems like a long distance for this type of thing. Of course, I'm a layperson. I don't really know all the ins and outs, but that's really impressive. In 8th place, that's really impressive. You said out of hundreds of people, hundreds of competitors?
So we had 120 competitors last year. Every year it's usually 120 at the main competition.
Wow.
These two, he didn't talk. It was a big deal. He made it seem like it was nothing.
That is a huge deal. That is really, really impressive. I mean, and we could talk a little bit more about the competition aspect of it, and talking a little bit more about the car itself. You mentioned you build a new car every year for each, I guess, competition year. Where do you build the car? How do you fabricate the parts? What are the mechanics of all of that? I think that's also fascinating. Luke, I don't know if you want to get started on that.
Yeah, the car itself is built on Villanova's campus all the way through. We start like we mentioned kind of previously earlier. We go through all design on campus, all manufacturing on campus. The only thing we don't do on campus is compete and test. We do test in the local area. We have some areas over towards King of Prussia and also in Radnor right here where we are able to test the car. And competition for us is anywhere from Michigan, Toronto, we went to last year, in Pittsburgh are usually our places we compete the car at. But as far as everything else, it's all on campus through and through. We have a small shop down at the bottom corner of Sear, or the Drosdick Hall, I should say. It hasn't moved with the new renovation or anything. We are getting some upgrades in our general area now, but it was relatively untouched from the new building being put up. And we have 2 garage doors with an adjacent shop that's part of the mechanical engineering department. And that's where everything happens from start to finish.
Oh, that's great. I'll have to take a walk back there.
By all means, always.
So I guess your work wasn't interrupted by the construction. You got to sort of work, well, not interrupted, but I'm sure it wasn't a walk in the park.
There was some headaches with construction. Our physical shop square footage never changed.
Okay.
About an inch from our garage doors, that changed drastically every other day. But it was good. We made it through. There was some real annoyances from it, but in the long run, we benefited greatly from having this new building and what it can do for us.
That's great.
So it was really cool. But yeah, everything's done on campus, from manufacturing to don't even want to say what hours of the car to designing on the exact same time frame, actually.
Wow. Well, that is very cool. I mean, I think that's something that most folks may not know. There's a lot happening on Villanova's campus, including this mechanical engineering project and manufacturing a whole vehicle. So that's fascinating. So going back to the competition, you mentioned there are a couple of places that you all compete. Are you competing multiple times throughout the year? Is there or is there one culmination event where everyone comes together? How does the competition look, and what is that schedule like for you all?
Every year, we design and build our car mainly to compete at the competition that happens in May of every year for the internal combustion class. That's every year that has been held in Michigan at the Michigan International Speedway. However, in the following school year, I should say, in the fall, we typically compete in smaller, more exhibition-style competitions. Like Luke said, the 2 that we competed in this past year and this past fall were in Pittsburgh and in the Toronto area. There are other competitions around the United States that happen that we haven't yet gone to, but we hope that the team tries to participate in the future. So there are some down south in Georgia and Alabama. There are others in other parts of the country, like out on the west coast of California. So there are a lot of different smaller exhibition-style competitions, but the Michigan May competition at the International Speedway is the largest that we have in the United States.
That's great. And this is also maybe a silly question. How do you get the car to these far-flung places? Is everyone road trip out there, or is someone the car trailer driver? How are those logistics?
Yeah, it is road tripping 101. For two years now, I've been the main truck driver through all of it. Wow. It's been enjoyable.
That's an adventure.
It is an adventure. It's also a fun adventure when you have a car that people have put thousands of hours into. And
sure.
You go over a bump a little too hard. It makes you sit up a little straighter, but it's not bad. It really isn't. I mean, the competition itself, our furthest drive was Toronto, actually. That one wasn't the most fun, but the one out to Michigan, there's so much behind you driving out there, or like in Pittsburgh, you don't really notice the drive. Your head's in 100 other places than to worry about how long the drive's taking you. So it is a road trip. It's a pain sometimes to get that many kids out there and get them hotel rooms or make them camp, but it is worth it, I like to think. And usually the feedback from all of our kids are great. So
I'm sure it's a bonding experience through this.
That is one way to put it.
Thing together. Well, I mean, I feel like I could talk to you all for hours about this and ask you, I mean, if the car were here, and be like, whoa, what does that knob do? What does that dial do? You know, this is fascinating. Super impressive what you're doing at Villanova. Before we wrap up, you know, what are some ways can the external community, can they support Villanova or Nova Racing, or even just to learn more? Do you have a website or a social media presence that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to take that, or I can go through it. We have multiple ways that you guys, I guess, support can be given, more so than even just monetary support. I think that's where people's mind automatically goes. Just coming down, talking to us. If it's warm out, I would bet our garage doors are open and someone's there, especially if it's during the semester. Come down if you're in the area. Go behind the building, talk to us. We'd love to introduce, because I think that's the best way to get people behind it. A lot of what we do, the school is very helpful with us getting our funding and helping us get parts done. We could always use more of it. If you would have any interest in donating anything, not just money, but time, resources, availability, even opinions. We love opinions too. Reach out to us. We have a website, Villanova FSAE. Nova Racing's our team name. If you search it up online, it should come up. We have social medias in Instagram and LinkedIn. We don't have any Facebook or anything. But there's a link to our website there, plus plenty of information about the team. And any school event, if you go to the school, we're at most school events too. Anything that's to do with the College of Engineering, we're usually there. We also have a car reveal every April for the new coming car before it goes to Michigan. So that can be found on our social medias and website.
Excellent. And for my part, my department, we manage a Facebook page, and we'll certainly be sharing this information out for
Great.
our community, because I think this is just super fascinating, and you're all very impressive. And thank you so much for all you're doing for the Villanova community and keeping this team going and growing it, and it's clearly a big success. So we're all very proud to have you as part of the Villanova community. So lastly, thank you again to Luke, Joseph, and Matt for being a guest today. Once again, I'm Hally Ammons, Assistant Director for Government and Community Relations at Villanova University. If you'd like to learn more about Villanova's racing team or ways to be involved with the Villanova community, you can visit us at villanova.edu/neighbors.